is U.S. dollar going to lose its reserve currency status? There was a great tweet, and for the last month, everybody has been expecting over a weekend, bombs to fly in the Middle East between Iran and Israel. It hasn't happened. Why hasn't it happened? I think this caught my eye. I think this is pretty much connects the two dots, right? It says, why hasn't Iran retaliated against Israel? Iran doesn't want to F up the real big war. What is the real war? Well, the real war is the reserve currency status of the US dollar. I've talked about it. The BRICS are really trying to break it apart, right? The BRICS are, US dollar is used for everything. And the Saudis stopped the petrodollar now. They'll be able to sell and buy oil with local currencies such as euros and yuans and whatever you want to call it. There is an effort to be made, but this reserve currency status is the only reason that we can keep printing money and spending money and have our debt go up $1 trillion every 100 days and nobody cares, right? If we lose our reserve currency status, watch out. Absolutely watch out. But it's going to be very difficult for a Chinese yuan or the euro of the Europe or a Japanese yen or whatever it is to replace the US dollar. It's just not going to happen. This has been going on for the last, I don't know how many decades. And that's the advantage US has. But US also uses that power, the reserve currency power of the US dollar in some nefarious ways. And, this tweet really absolutely nailed it. Eterol, on Twitter, I'm on Twitter, by the way, at Sergio Avid. It's in the show notes. Please follow me. I'm quite active on Twitter. What is the power of the USA actually based on? It is the US dollar financial system, a fiat currency, meaning the US dollar system backed by wars, power projection, and bullying. I mean, this guy is talking my mind here. Not backed by gold, real production, and which I'm going to talk about what part of the economy is manufacturing and production versus anything else, real production and commodities. It is a system built on debt and money printing and the privilege of the reserve currency of the US dollar that has guaranteed the need for US dollar government securities. Well, I couldn't have said that better myself. And then he went further and he put up 7 points, which I completely agree with, right? So that's why it's going to be very difficult to remove the US dollar as a reserve currency of the globe. But the move has started. These things don't happen overnight. The BRICS are really going at it. They're even creating a SWIFT system for themselves for transferring trillions of dollars around the globe, obviously. But then, why I don't think is imminent, and why I don't think is going to be an issue for the next at least decade. It takes time. It takes time to get rid of the US dollar. I mean, every country that we deal with, right, is trading in US dollars. All the oil is traded in US dollars. All the import and exporting is done in US dollars. So we do hold the power, obviously. But as far as the 7 points, I'll just read them, honestly, because I don't think I can say it better myself. The US economy is like a big, loud friend at the party who everyone knows. Its size, stability, and the rule of law make the US dollar a safe bet. Is it, though? It's like choosing the most popular kids' currency because, well, everyone else is doing it. Okay, that's one. That's called economic hegemony. Number two, this is going away. Actually, it has. After 50 years, the petrodollar, deal or agreement was not renewed by the Saudis. Supposedly our friends, but I'm pretty sure we'll create a war somewhere over there and then, bring him back to the table. Petrodollar system, oil, the lifeblood of modern civilization, which I hate really. I don't know. Like, I'm in California. I don't know why every house is not doesn't have solar panels up top. I mean, we have 360 days of sun in California. Is often traded in US dollars. Well, that's kind of going away now. This isn't just a preference. It's like a global agreement that says if you want to fuel your cars, planes, and the economies, you'll need some of these green pieces of paper to buy and sell oil. Agreed. Reserve currency status. Being the world's reserve currency means countries hold US dollars as part of their foreign exchange reserves. Absolutely. It's like having a universally accepted gift card for global trade. And who doesn't love a gift card? I mean, this guy just hit the nail on the head. Number four, liquidity and financial markets. Let's talk about that. The US financial markets are deep, probably the deepest. Although, we did have a little bit of an illiquidity kind of an issue over the last couple of weeks, when the triple Qs dropped about 14 percentage points in about 2 weeks. That was definitely liquidity there, liquid and as open as a book you've read too many times. This liquidity makes the US dollar a go-to for international transactions, which I'll be talking about shortly in another segment about why it happened, and then about should we even pay attention to the carry trade that we're talking about. And supposedly that was the reason why the markets took a dump and then came right back though. Go for international transaction investments, and let's be honest, for parking money when you're not sure what else to do with it. Number five, the exorbitant privilege. This is where he absolutely nails it. Economists love this term because it sounds fancy, but it means the US can borrow in its own currency. That's the machines, the printing machines. We can do whatever the heck we want, which is like having an endless credit card, absolutely, with no interest. Well, those days passed. ZIRP has ended, and we know what happened with inflation and how they had to bring back the interest rates to reasonably high levels. Although I think it's pretty average. 5% is pretty average, actually, if you look at the history of interest rates, until it's time to pay the piper. Will we ever pay the piper, though? That's my question. With debt growing, federal debt growing $1 trillion every 100 days, pay the piper. But that's another story, which I agree with. The privilege allows the U.S. to run deficits that would make other countries' economies collapse under the weight of their own debt. Absolutely. Check out Argentina, check out Venezuela, check out Turkey, check out Greece. I've been saying this for years now. I think we're a much bigger version of these countries, but the only advantage we have is one, the US dollar is the world's reserve currency. Number two, we have the printing machines. We can print all we want and create all the debt we want without any repercussions. Although, if the economy slows down now, which I'll talk about shortly, what will happen? Inertia and network effects. Changing the global reserve currency is like trying to change the language of international communication from English to, say, Klingon. This is funny. It's not about the language. It's about all the infrastructure, education, and cultural shifts to support it. But then the BRICS are doing it. They're getting their own monetary transfer system now, currency transfer system, which is SWIFT in our world, but they're working on it. The US dollar has this network effect where its widespread use makes it even more useful. And this is I think what is absolutely the reserve currency power is used around the globe these days. Geopolitical leverage, 100%. The US dollar gives the US geopolitical leverage, which is like having the biggest, shiniest toy in the sandbox. Want to sanction someone? Hit them where it hurts in their access to US dollars. What happens? We cut their access to US dollars. They can't trade because all the import-export trading and oil purchases and everything else is done with US dollars. We drain them of their blood, basically. Why do we do that? We do that with Iran. Not that Iran is an angel, but we do that with Russia. We do that with everybody that pisses us off. What do? We slap them with sanctions. 50 years ago, we slapped Cuba with sanctions. Look at the country. It's absolutely in shambles. Look at Venezuela. Look at Argentina. Anybody we don't like, we just hit him with sanctions. When we hit him with sanctions, we cut the access to dollars. They don't have dollar reserves. And what do? Their currency turns into toilet paper, right? I mean, this tweet probably for me was the best tweet that I've seen for a long time on Twitter. So I appreciate it, Eterol. If you guys want to follow him, please follow him. So yeah, that's, US dollar reserve currency status and its power, immense, right? But it probably won't happen in my lifetime, but in my kids' lifetime, I think the US dollar will lose its reserve currency status, which is the next 25 years probably. And I think the repercussions are going to be massive because of what we're doing now with, with our budget deficits, with our federal deficits, with fiscal policy being absolutely in shambles, right? But then monetary policy follows fiscal policy, right? These idiots in Washington, I mean, so they just spend money that they don't have, and then the Federal Reserve has to just create money, right, to close that gap. And that's why our deficit is 35 trillion, just turned 35 trillion, and then going up a trillion every 100 days. In the next year, it'll be 38 trillion, and then it'll be 41 trillion. It just doesn't end. This doesn't end. And so thank you, Tirol. I think this was the best tweet I've seen on Twitter all week when it comes to economics.